And finally, Watership down. Done horribly, but yours truly. Yes. Finally, after almost a month, I finally got a chance to get into this blasted thing. And we are going to be on episode 27. Hopefully not a part 1, but hopefully without part 2s and 3s and 4s. Because the camera sucks. But, yes, it was from a Richard Adams. I saw an interview he did about 10 years ago, 10 years before the man died. Turn this damn thing down. And he said he used to read portions of this book to his grandchildren when they were in bed. So, you say it's not a kid's book? This guy was reading this thing to 10-year-old and 9-year-old grandsons and granddaughters. Maybe the English version of children is 40 and over. Still not a bloody kid's book. I still think it's goddamn kids. This ain't no kid's book. With all the violence and death and destruction. Anyway, we're going to get on with it. This is episode 27. Called You Can't Imagine It Unless You've Been There. Sounds like my tour of Iraq. Anyway, here we go. In the honeycomb, Bigwig and Holly were waiting to begin their second meeting since the loss of Hazel. As the air began to cool, the rabbits woke. The first one and then another came down the runs that led into the smaller burrows. All were of subdued and doubtful at heart, like the pain of a bad wound. The effect of a deep shock takes a while to be felt. When a child is told for the first time in its life that the person he's known is dead, although he does not believe it, he may well fail to comprehend it and later ask, perhaps more than once, where the dead person is and when is he coming back. Said the same thing about my brother when I was 9 and he was 8 when he got killed. Kind of sucks ass. When Pipkin planted himself like some somber tree, it was knowledge that Hazel would never return. His bewilderment excelled his grief, and the bewilderment he saw on every side among his companions. Faced with no crisis of action, there's nothing to prevent them from continuing their life in the burrow. As before, the rabbits were nevertheless overcome by conviction that their luck is gone. Hazel was dead, and Holly's expedition has totally failed. What will follow? Holly, gaunt, his staring pelt full of goosegrass and fragments of burlock, was talking with the 3 hutch rabbits, assuring them the best he could. No one could say now that Hazel had thrown his life away in a foolhardy prank. The 2 does was the only gain that anyone had made, and the Warrens' only asset. 2 does, ass set. Set ass. Ass set. Your asses belong to us. Yeah! But they were plainly so ill in their new surroundings that Holly already comprehending against his own belief that there was little hope for them. Those who are upset and on the edge tend to be infertile. How these does to make themselves home in a strange condition in a place where everyone had lost so poorly in his thoughts. They would die, perhaps wander away. He buckled once more to the task, explaining that he was sure that better times were ahead. As he did so, he felt himself least convicted of any. Bigwig has set Acorn to see whether there be anyone still to come. Acorn returned to say that Strawberry felt too ill, and how he could either find neither blackberry or fiber. Well, lean fiber, said Bigwig. Poor fellow. He'll get better by himself for a time, I dare say. He's not in his barrel, though, said Acorn. Never mind, said Bigwig, but a thought has come to him. Fiber and blackberry? How could they have left the warren without it telling anyone? If they have, well, what happened to the others we'll get to know. Should he ask Keyhard to go and look for them when they're still light? But if Keyhard found them, what then? They could not be compelled to return. Or if they were gone, what good would they do if they wanted to be gone? At the moment, Holly began to speak, and everyone became quiet. Yes. Oh dear. Everyone became quiet, so poor old Holly. We all know we're in a mess, said Holly. I suppose before long we will have to talk about what is best to be done. But I have a thought of it first of all, and I will tell you that it was we four, Silver, Buckthorn, Strawberry, and I, have come back without any does. You don't have to remind me when we set out that everybody thought it was going to be straightforward. And here we are. One rabbit sick, one wounded, with nothing to show for, and you're all wondering why. No one's blaming you, Holly, said Bigwig. I don't know whether I'm blamed or not, replied Holly, but it'll tell me when you've heard the story. That morning we left. It was in good weather for Hellissel on the move, and we felt there was no hurry. Hellissel, ladies and gentlemen, means a rabbit, a wandering rabbit, or a rabbit that lives above ground, or a rabbit without a warren. Okay? It was cool, I remember, and looked around as if it would be sometime before the day before a really bright and cloudless. Bright and cloudless. There was a farm not far away from the other end of this wood. And though there was no man about so early, I didn't fancy going that way. So we kept up on the high ground on the evening side. We all were expecting to come to the edge of the down, and there wasn't any steep edge as there is on the north. The upland goes on and on, open, dry, and lonely. There was plenty of cover for rabbits, standing corn hedges, banks, but there was no real woodland. Just great open fields of light soil with big white flint stones. The only flint stones I know about is Fred and Wilma and Pebbles. I was hoping we might find out ourselves the sort of country we're used to know, meadows and woods, but we didn't. Somehow we found the track, which is a good thick hedge on one side, and we decided to follow it. We took it easy and stopped a great deal because I was taking care to avoid running into a lil. All right, everybody, a lil means enemies. Like Ukraine, the Russians are the enemy. South Korea, North Korea is the enemy. They're all haleso and jerks. Anyway, here we go. It is a bad country for stoats as well as foxes. I haven't had much of an idea where we're going if we met one. I'm pretty certain we did pass close to a weasel. Said Silver. I could spell it. But you know how it is with a lil. If they're not actually hunting, they often take no notice of you. We left very little scent, and we buried our haraka as though we were cats. Now, this reminds me of my pet rabbit, Benny, back in 1972. We had a rabbit named Benny back in 1972. Kept in the cage. And we let him inside the house because we had him in the outside in the big cage. And we let a cat box out for him. And he used to go and shit in the cat box. Can you believe that? Litter box, yeah. Anyway, well, before now Fred went on, Holly, the track brought us to a long, thick, narrow wood right across the way we were going. These downland woods were queer, aren't they? Let me catch you. We're not talking about bisexuals, homosexuals. Okay? This is the English way of saying something was out of the ordinary. Well, even though that the two things I did mention a moment before is unusual, but this is the British way of saying unusual. Okay? So, that means if I was to say downwind of the world woods were queer, aren't they? Well, that would get me in trouble for saying it that way. Anyway, okay, so it spreads far as we can go the other way in a dead straight line. I didn't like straight lines. The men make them. And sure enough, we found a road besides this wood. It was a lonely, empty road, but all but the same. I wanted to go and hang about, so we went straight through the woods on the other side. Kihar spotted us in the fields beyond and told us to alter our direction. I asked him how we are getting on, and he says we're about halfway. So I thought I might as well start looking for somewhere to lie up for the night. I didn't fancy the open. And in the end, we made scrapes in the bottom of this little kind of pit we found. And they had a good feed and passed the night very well. Scrapes! Okay, when rabbits make scrapes, think of lean-tos, pup tents, shit like that you see in a lot of cowboy and Indian movies, teepees, all that other bullshit. And that's what they did. They made themselves some fucking teepees. And they busted out some chow and they were chilling out. Now, I don't think we need to tell you anything about the journey. It came on to rain just the morning feed, and we were in a nasty cold wind about it. So we stayed where we were until 9 frith. That's in the afternoon. Frith. Here comes the sun doing this. And bam, when it's like 12 o'clock, because rabbits got watches, they're like, bro, 12 o'clock, time to go. Yo, yo. So it was bright up and we went in. It wasn't very nice because of the wet. Because, I don't like being wet either, and it's actually raining outside. But the early evening, I reckon, we were out to be near the place. So we started looking around when a hare came through the grass. And I asked him where he knew of a big warren close by. Efrafra, he asked. You're going to Efrafa? And that's what it's called, I answered. Do you know it? No, I said, we don't. We would like to know where it is. Well, he said, my advice to you is to run, and quickly. Dude, I just want to find this pad. And this big old hair fellow is telling me, hey dude, you're going to Efrafa? I would suggest you exit stage left, bro, and quick. I was just wondering what to make of that when suddenly 3 big rabbits came over the bank. Just the way I did that night when I came to arrest you, Bigwig. And one of them said, can I see your marks? Marks? I said, what marks? I don't understand. You're not from Efrafa? No, I said, I'm going there. We're strangers. Well, you'll come with me. No. Have you come far? Are you wet throughout? Or anything like that? They didn't ask shit. So these 3 big rabbits took us down the bank. And well, we came to Efrafa, as they call it. And I better try to tell you something about it, so that you all know what a dirty bunch of little snivering hedgerow scrapers they are. We were here. Okay, you guys suck, and you're gonna listen to us, okay? Because we'll be kicking your ass. Efrafra is a big warren, a great bigger than the one we came from, the Sierras, I mean. And one fear every rabbit in that place, that her men are going to find them and inflict them with the white blindness. Ah! Okay, so when they go and jack up rabbits, when us humans are being dicks and we jack up rabbits, we like to jam sticks down inside rabbit holes that has like smoke. So the white blindness, it's like smoke. That's what they call it, the smoke. Oh my God, I got smoke in my eyes. Well, yeah, you get that from smoking cigarettes, doing burnouts in your car or whatever. Okay, anyway. And the whole warren is organized to conceal its existence. The holes are hidden, and the owlsla have every rabbit in the place under orders. You can't call your life your own. In return, you have safety. It's worth having the price you pay. Auschwitz, Birkenau. Concentration camps. Anyway, as well as the owlsla, they have something called a council. And each of the council rabbits has some special thing he looks after. One looks after feeding, another is responsible the way to keep the warren hidden, other looks after breeding, and so on. As far as ordinary rabbits are concerned, only a certain number can be above ground at one time. Each rabbit is marked when he was a kitten. They bite them deep under the chin or the haunch of the forepaw. Then when they can, they're told by the scar for the rest of their lives. You mustn't be found above ground unless it's the right time of day for your mock. All right, so I want these guys right here, all you prisoners, with the yellow star. You can come out and you can go do your labor and get some sloppy soup shit. Bring them back in the frickin' barracks. Take out all the ones with the pink stars, the homosexuals. You're going to be doing day labor, feed them, bring them back inside. All you people with the green stars. I think those are like political enemies. That's basically what this shit is. So if they cut you under the chin, you're in the chin mark. They cut you in the neck, you're in the neck mark. Cut you in the forepaw. You're in the forepaw mark. That's what's going on with these goddamn Nazi sons of bitches. Bunnies going Sieg Heil with their fucking little armbands. Alright, that is what we're talking about here. Anyway. Who's to stop you? Growled Bigwig. That's the really frightening part. The Ausla. Well, you can't imagine unless you've been there. The chief is a rabbit named Woundwort. General Woundwort, they call him. And I'll tell you more about him in a minute. Then under him are captains, each one in charge of a mark. Each captain has his own officers and sentries. There is a mark captain with his band on duty every time of the day and night. If a man happens to come anywhere near which isn't often, the sentries give warning long before he gets close enough to see anything. And they give him a warning of a lil, too. Man is still considered a lil, so. And they prevent anyone from dropping a rocket except for special places in the ditch where they're buried. And if they see any rabbit above ground who do not recognize as having the right to be there, they ask him to see his mark. Frick knows what happens if he can't explain himself. And I can guess pretty well. The rabbits and Efrafa quite often go days at a time without the sight of breath. If their marks is on night souffle, they'll beat at night, wet or fine, warm or cold. They're all used to talking, playing, and mating in burrows in the ground. If a mark can't souffle at their appointed time for some reason, they are like a man that's working somewhere near. That's just too damn bad. They miss their turn until the next day. That means no fucking chow, bro. Wow. Anyway, but surely it alters them very much like that? Asked Dandelion. Very much indeed, replied Holly. Most of them can't do anything but what they were told. They are never been out of Efrafa, never smelled the enemy. The one aim of every rabbit in Efrafa is to go into the Ausla because of privilege. How many damn pages is this? Yep, it's going to be a part 2. And once everyone gets in the Ausla is to get into the council. The council have the best of everything. But the Ausla is to kept strong and tough. They take turn to do what they call wide patrol. They go out over the country, all over the place, living in the open for a few days at a time. And it's partly because they find out anything they can. And then partly to train them and make them tough and cunning. Any hassle, that means scavengers, guys that's screwing around and not living anywhere, bums, snatch them right up and picked up, bring them to Efrafan. If they don't come, they kill them. They reckon a Halesil is a danger because he might attract the attentions of men. Wide patrols report back to General Woundwort, and the council decides what is anything new and they think should be dangerous. They missed you on the way in then, said Bluebell. Oh no, they didn't. They learned later that sometime after that we were brought in by this rabbit, Captain Campion. A runner arrived from a wide patrol to say that they picked up the track of 3 or 4 rabbits coming towards Efrafa from the north. And were there any orders? He was to send back to say we were safely under control. Wow. All right, I'm going to read a little bit more and there'll be a part 2. Anyway, this Captain Campion took us down the hole in the ditch. The mouth of the hole is a bit like the old earthenware pipe if man had pulled it out. The opening had fallen in and shown traces of the run inside. He landed us over to another captain because he had to go back above ground for the rest of his spell of duty, you see. Then he was taken to the big burrow and told to make ourselves at home. There was these other rabbits in the burrow, and it was by listening to them and asking questions I learned the most of what I'm telling you. We got talking to some of the does I made friends with, one named Heisentley. Shined dew fur. Fur shining like dew. That means when rabbit's fur is wet, or not drenched through, but enough wet on it to make it shine. That's what Heisentley means. I told her about her problem here and why we have come. And then she told us about Efrafa. And when she's finished, I said, it sounds terrible. It has always been like this? And she says, no. Her mother told her that in the years gone by, the warren had been elsewhere and much smaller. But when General Woundwort came, he made them all move to Efrafa. And he worked out this whole system of concealment perfectly until the rabbits in Efrafra were safe as stars in the sky. Most rabbits here die of old age unless the owls kills them off, she said. But the trouble is there is more rabbits than the warren can hold. Any fresh digging is allowed to be done under Owl's supervision. When they do, it's terribly slow and carefully, and it has to be hidden, you see. We're overcrowded, and a lot of rabbits don't get above ground as much as they need to, as for some reason there are not enough bucks and too many does. That means there's a lot of bimbos in this place. Yeah. A lot of us has found we cannot produce litters because of the overcrowding, and no one is ever allowed to leave. A few days ago, some of us does went to the council and asked whether we can form an expedition, start a new warren elsewhere. He says we can go far, far away, as far as they like. But they wouldn't hear of it. Not on any account. Things can't go on like this. The system is breaking down. But it doesn't do to be heard talking about it. Well, I thought this would sound useful. Surely they didn't object to proposers. We only want to take a few does and no bucks. We got more does here than there's room for, and we want to take them further away than anyone has ever been. A little while later, another captain came, and he was coming with them to the council meeting. The council met in a big kind of burrow. It was big and rather narrow, and good big as this honeycomb of ours. They have no tree roots and had a wide roof. They come inside. They were talking about all sorts of other things, and we came in and paid as a piece of council business. Strangers apprehended. There was another rabbit waiting, and he was under special guard. The Efrafan, they call them. The council police, the Gestapo, the SS, the neo-Nazis. I mean, not the neo-Nazis, the Nazis. The SA brown shirts, thugs. You guys get an idea what I'm talking about, right? You know, a bunch of rabbits with fucking armbands and doing their paws like this. Hoo-ah. And I never been near anybody so frightened in my life. I thought he was going mad with fear. I asked one of these Efrafans what the matter, and he says this rabbit in Black Gumpa had been caught trying to run away from the warren. Well, they took him inside. First, I can hear the poor fellow trying to explain himself. And then he was crying and begged for mercy. And when he came out, they ripped both his ears to shreds. Worse than this one of mine. We were all sniffing at him and absolute horror struck him. But one of the Efrafans says, "You didn't make such a fuss. He's lucky to be alive." And so, while we waited chewing on that, someone came out and asked said the council was ready for us. This is the end of part 1 of You Can't Imagine It Unless You've Been There, chapter 27. I am going to be reading part 2, dealing with holly, strawberry, buckthorn, and who else was it? And holly, strawberry, buckthorn. And Silva is going to go talk to the council. And Watership down, done badly by yours truly. And I'm going to give you a hua, and let's print this bad boy. Hua.